Yeah, there's going to be no secrets and no reveals here. Sorry. I thought you guys could trick me because you'd like broken me down. He's tired. He'll forget. He'll start really giving out all the secrets of the show. Wah, wah, wah. I know, it's a drag.
What can you tell us?
What can I tell you? I can tell you about my character. I play Pastor Tad Billingham. His name is Tad, which is a pretty fantastic name, right? He lives in Arizona. He is the head of a cult, like a sect, a religious sect. And he was it is Christian-based, yes, Christian religious-based. And he is eventually involved in this worldwide conspiracy that all of the stories center around and will eventually merge together into one.
What drew you to the character?
I think one of the things that I like. All right, so I'll make it simple first. It's really fun to play bad guys. Like it's not as fun to play good guys. It's fun to play bad guys, right? Because you get to be secretive and mean and do like, we all like to get to fantasize about like the darker edges of the world, and most of us in our lives don't do that for a good reason, because we should not, right? But when like this character on some level has made a bunch of wrong right turns, right? He's turned, and then he turned, and he turned. And then if any one of us did that, we would get into a situation where we were like, oh, I have found myself on the wrong side of the law, morality, common sense, all sorts of shit that you should not have done, but you are now doing. And when you get there, it gets to be fun, right? Because you haven't had to make those turns. I haven't had to make those turns. But now I just get to arrive in that world where things are, you would do things that you normally would not do. And it requires a lot more secrecy and hiddenness and stealth than, that I think all of us can sort of, in our pretend mind when we were kids, we imagined, I'm going to sneak around here and I do this sneaky thing over here. I know I did. And now I get to do that for a living. And that's crazy. Who gets to do that? You guys are all journalists, and you're not sneaking around like trying to capture an interview with me. You didn't really sneak over here. You are at a hotel, so it's not particularly sneaky.
Yeah, but my guy's bugging your room.
Oh,
right
is he?
now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
This is going to be really boring. Nice.
Is your character a true believer or a con man?
That is a very interesting question. I think it's a very. I think he is a true believer, and he has probably conned himself. And I think I don't think that, and I think that the reason that he is able to lead others is that he is absolutely convinced of his righteousness. And I think, as you will see, and the danger of this particular storyline is that it is tipped over from righteousness into fanaticism, and that his singularity of purpose, of need, has made him only focus on this particular goal. And there is, I think that any one of us could look at anything in the world and sort of say that is a dangerous path to be on, when nothing can push you off of your path, even when there are many people in the world telling you that you are no longer on the right path.
Did you watch any recordings of cult leaders or do anything like that to prepare for the role?
I have done some of that, yes. I have. There is a great tradition in our country, I don't know if you know, about preachers and evangelism and all sorts of things that come in all different shapes and sizes, and it's a very intriguing and fertile area in which to do research. So yes, I have done. And frankly, it's one of those things that continues on. And as we're developing this event series, it's really fun to find the depth to it. Because one of the things, I'm sure someone has said this to you, that it's a 2,000-year mystery. Mystery in the making. What do they call it? Thriller in the making. Whatever it is.
That is the correct
Zippity doo dah. That there is actual roots in it. not only history, but in the present day. And if and when this show intrigues you enough and you actually do research on your own about it and you find out that it's still going on, you're gonna shake your head and be like, what? Like I do now, when I'm like, I'm sorry, tell me that again? Because you just said that person's over there doing this, and they're like, yeah, no, they're there, for real. They say it out loud, they preach it, they want it, it's happening. And you're like, it's happening now? You're like, yeah. People who do that? So on this show, while it is not a reality-based show, and the fiction that exists, we're leaving it. That there is enough there's enough factual intrigue that will pull an audience member in, and if you're interested in that particular world, it will really intrigue you. Because for someone who did not know anything about this particular world and now does, it is powerfully intriguing.
So I have to ask.
Do it.
Around Breaking Bad.
As I was.
Is there any chance of Bruce showing up in the prequel for Better Call Saul?
Do you know Vince? Can you call him up for me and tell him he should give me a job? He should definitely give me a job, don't you think? That was a good character, Gale. I'm still, still look like Gale, don't I? Yeah, there's all sorts of shit. Me at school, me going to the grocery store. I can think of, and you and I could come up with any number of stories like that. And Vince is smarter than we are, so shit, he could come up with better stories than we can. You think that he'd put me in? Call him up. Let me know.
There's a strain of fundamentalist Christianity in this country, which holds Jerusalem as sort of this apocalyptic center. Does your character's brand of Christianity sort of fall into that line, or?
It's a very interesting question. I will let you wait and see the television series called Dig on USA.
How much can you relate to your character who may or may not be evil? This scares me so much.
I think one of the things that I think, like, in good writing, as for especially for a character actor, that you get to, there's so many aspects of who that person is that are already constructed for you, and that frankly one of the things that one of the tasks of really of actualizing what it is those writers have made is to find how you fit in, right? How can I put enough points, if I were going to draw this portrait and it was going to be pointillism, right? How can I draw enough single points to make it the whole? And I think there's sometimes you get in a character, you're just like, I got it. Like on Breaking Bad, like I read it, I was like, I got it. I know, I could literally like take one stroke and be like, I know what it is, and all the different colors, and I was like, I knew it, top to bottom, head to toe, heart to guts, right? I knew who this guy was. And on this one, it's much more about components. It's much more about like, oh, I know that part, I know, and this part I know. And then you start to try to make the connections, right? You start to actually try to see if you can make enough dots or point enough of those things that you're bringing your fullest, sorry to get all actory on you, authentic self to the creation of what those people have written. And for me, that's what good acting is, right? And you can bring a deep sense of authenticity to something that's been created for you, that exists outside of you. And I think that's my trick now. So there's all sorts of things, like reading the Bible. I grew up reading the Bible. I was raised Catholic. But now reading the Bible in the context of who this guy is totally different. It's a totally different understanding or way of looking for meaning in a book, right? And something that this character would do all the time. So something like that. And then I'm like, oh, I know how to read the Bible. I know what the Bible means, or do I? And then figuring out what this particular person's worldview or need, how he will then interpret just the simple act of reading the Bible. Any sense? It's like B- answer, but I was almost there. I was almost there to like really bring it home. You're like, you can't. Anything else? Anybody else?
So I know you're not part of the archaeology team there,
No.
but was there anything awesome you got to see in Jerusalem?
Yeah, Jerusalem's incredible, crazy, insane city. It's one of those things where you walk into the city and you know you have that experience when you walk in someplace and the way that modern people describe it would be like, it's like a movie. It's like being in a movie. Because you can't believe how, I don't know what it is, how real it is, or how much, not even what you imagine it is, or it just looks too, it glows too much, or it's too shiny, or it's too clean. It was too clean. You're like, I've never been in a cleaner city in my life. And then you look up, there was one point I walked into the city and there were these two, it was in the Armenian quarter. It's divided into 4 quarters. The Armenian quarter, the Jewish quarter, the Muslim quarter, and the Christian quarter. And we were in the Armenian quarter. And there were these 2 Armenians on their balcony, and they were kind of in shadow, so you couldn't really see them, but they were drinking their tea, and they were in like what seemed to me like 2,000-year-old ancient garb. And you're like, oh shit, this is like all around you, you know what I mean? You just feel like, whoa. And you really, it felt like a movie. It feels like a movie. I would suggest going there. I wouldn't go there now, but I would suggest going there.
All right, thank you guys so much. We got to wrap up in here.